Okay, one thing that I would like to just point out again is just to make sure that you're checking into those rules for creating Somerville videos. Again, this is for videos that will be seen asynchronously. So that means anytime students want, they can see them. One of the things that I mentioned earlier to the group that I met with is if you're just starting out, and or even if you're not just starting out, if you have family members that maybe are not super tech savvy, but somebody else could be able to like kind of show them a video. And if you can't connect with them through FaceTime or something, if you wanted to create a video with Screencastify and then email it to somebody in your family, you can definitely do that. That might be a nice way to kind of connect with some people that you can't really see. So this is a tool that we selected because it's a great tool for flipping learning through the screencasting option, but it's also a great way to just record those welcome messages to students and to loved ones, and also to maybe record reading a story or something like that. And it's kind of like that lasting thing that even though you're recording it live, someone can always kind of watch it just to connect with you, even if you can't be with them in person. So feel free to use that. Use this for any part of your life that you think that this would be helpful to you. So let's go into, again, just our options to record. And so I'm going to come over here to our website. And I am going to go to, again, we're going up to the top. Let me just toggle on my my mouse feature over here. Okay, so once again, we're coming onto the toolbar, or not our toolbar, our URL bar. We're pulling over to the right and we're choosing that Screencastify option. So again, once this loads, we have the 3 different options. I'll just review them briefly. We have the browser tab option, which is going to be just recording that one singular browser tab. The desktop, which is everything left to right and top to bottom. So again, if you have a lot of things over here on your desktop, you might just want to take them and drag them into a folder to keep it nice and tidy. The other option is with the desktop is you can embed your webcam so that they can see you while you're doing your screencast. The desktop version is the best way to do a screencast, in my opinion, where you're giving directions and instructions to go to navigate websites or to complete lessons. And then the webcam only is the nice option that you can use if you're just looking to record something where you're speaking to your audience, whether it be students or family. Remember that your microphone and the webcam, if you're using those things, we're using the default that's native to our MacBooks. So use the default internal microphone. You'll see that as you talk and you test it, the green bar will get higher when it's recording your sound. And then also the FaceTime HD is your native display for your camera within your MacBook. I'm going to click on here. This is show more options. So this is a kind of an advanced feature where you can select what you want your countdown to be. The default is 3 seconds, but you can make it longer, 5 or 10 seconds if you want. Show drawing tools. If you don't plan to use them and you feel that they're distracting, you can uncheck this. And I'll speak a little bit more to when drawing tools are not available in a little bit. And then also to show the webcam preview, you can toggle that on or off. So let's start recording. And I'm going to show you some of the tools that are in that toolbar that we didn't really touch upon too much. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive on how you can use them now for instruction, and let's go. So we have your entire screen. You want to choose that because it's going to be everything left to right, top to bottom. Make sure you click on it, because if you don't click on it, that share button will not be active. So now that I've clicked on it, I see that faint blue line around the outside. I click share. I have my 3, 2, 1 countdown that will start. Okay, so notice that here I have my webcam embedded, but I also have the preview. So if that's something that you'll be able to see, only this one. And so I'm just going to pull that off to the side. If you don't need to see that too, you can toggle that off by clicking on the red button in the corner. And that again was in those advanced settings where I chose for it to be on. This is the screen, and this is the screen that students will see though. One of the nice things about this webcam preview is that you have the ability to pause here and also to stop it if you wanted to. So you can decide to have that on or off. And again, if you need to pause for anything, maybe you need to take a breath, maybe you need to stop your dog from barking or something, you can always pause it. And then when you're ready, you can come back and resume. So I'm going to click on resume. Okay. Now over here in the bottom part of the bottom part of our browser, so the browser tab that we're in the left lower hand corner, you see these different options. So again, there's the pause button, and that works the same as the pause button I just showed you. It would stop the recording and then bring back the option to play it again or to stop it. So I'll start it again. And now I'm going to take away this little blue circle for a moment, just so I can show you the toggle features that are embedded within Screencastify. So this has a couple of different options. So this one here is the focus mouse, which is pretty cool because it makes like a little spotlight on anything that you're hovering over. Okay, so that is a great way to kind of narrow in and hone in students' attention to a particular area, or maybe even to highlight over while you're reading something. If you happen to be reading a story that you're displaying on your desktop. So it might be a nice way to do something like that. I'm going to toggle that off right now. Okay. The next option is to hide your cursor when it's not moved. So this way, and I've noticed that I do this sometimes, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, but sometimes when we talk, we tend to kind of move our mouse a little bit, and that could be distracting to students. So you can choose to have your cursor off when it's not moving, okay? That can kind of help a little bit. This one's nice too, because it highlights the clicks. But now if I click, you see that little red circle. So that just brings attention to the area where you want students to click on. So if you said you want them to click here, you click here, and they would see that little red circle come up. That may or may not be helpful to you. So that's something that you can totally decide. I'm going to close this tab here because that was kind of lagging a little bit, and then we'll come back. Another option that you have is the pen tool. So I'm going to toggle this off, and you'll notice that when something's toggled on, it has the it'll have that like gray square activated, and when it's off, it will be the same color as everything else on that line. So as you can see now, I have my this is selected here, but I also have my webcam selected, and I can choose to toggle that off. Let's move over to the pen tool. This is where you're able to record something on screen. So, you know, maybe you feel that the circle, that red circle, was not really that effective because it's kind of, it's a little laggy. It might be better for you to use the pen option, choose your color, and then circle where you want students to be able to click. And that might be a little bit more helpful for them. You can go back in and change the color, and you can also, you know, depending on how great your handwriting is on your trackpad or on your mouse, you can add in text as well. So those are a couple of options for the pen. The eraser is pretty simple because when the eraser is toggled on, you can click over any of the overlaying text or pen marks that you've made, but then you can also choose this square right here. Sorry, I do know my shapes. But if you click on this right here, it's going to wipe the entire screen. So that's a good way to just get all of that overlay off very quickly. I click on it and now it's gone. And again, this feature right here, there may be some times where I want to be presenting my webcam, but then there are other times that maybe I just want students to focus in on the website portion of it, and maybe I think it's too distracting to see me or unnecessary at that point, and that is where I would click to toggle the webcam off. And as you can see, that webcam right here disappeared. So I'm going to click and toggle it back on, and there I am again. Okay, the other option that you have here for the online tools is to hide them. So you can just click on that to hide them. So I'm going to pause this video again now, and then I can choose to stop it over here in this window, or I can stop it right here. The other way to stop the video is to come up here and choose to click on the icon again, the Screencastify icon, and then you can choose to stop the recording there as well. So you always have the two options with the on-screen tools as well as the Screencastify icon. This third option will only be available to you if you choose to have the webcam preview. So I can stop it in either place. I'll choose to stop it right here. Okay, and I don't know if you can notice over here, but it's automatically recording and saving to my Google Drive, and you know, it's letting you know the percentage, how quickly it's uploaded already. I'm going to turn my toggle back on here just to kind of help us focus in a little bit on where I am clicking. So remember that when this opens up, it's muted. So if you want to unmute it, just to kind of take a look at the preview, you can click here to unmute it. There's also this option here to either raise or lower the volume that you're hearing from your computer, or also to toggle your sound on, off, or again, off. If you need to pause, there we go. I'm going to pause this right here. Again, remember that you have the capability to click on the scissors, and you can pull in from left to right. And I do apologize, but so we would want to keep that webcam feature off because we do see that. I apologize. So we want to save the trim at the beginning and at the end. And that's kind of nice because you have the ability to not feel pressured to start your recording as soon as you hear that countdown. You can give yourself a little break, get where you need to go, and on your desktop, make sure everything's ready, and then get moving, and know that you can always just trim from the front and from the end very simply without going into the advanced editing tools. So I'll save this trim right now. It asks me if I want to, if I'm sure, and I'll click trim. And now my video is working on being trimmed. One of the things that is helpful also now and later, in case you forget, and this goes back to, I think, Judith's question before, is you know, organization and titling. So one of the things that you could do at any point is to just hover over this untitled title, click on it, and give it a new name. So we'll call this new, and maybe I'll put in the date here. Okay, once I click off of that, now that's the name of my new video. Once again, just to go over your options, you have the option to copy the shareable link. And you also have the option to share out through Google Classroom, publish to YouTube, or send in an email. If you are sharing this with family members, it might be a nice idea to maybe create a YouTube channel where you have you can post those so that they have the ability to access it, or you would have to create a link that can be viewed outside of Somerville Public School District. And I can show you how to do that from Drive in a little bit. So the other options that we have here, again, you can choose to export the audio only. And here we have the ability to generate that QR code for students that are younger and have that access. So I'm going to stop here and just check in. Does anybody want me to review any of the share options before we move forward? Okay, we'll keep rolling. Okay, so when we edit, we have different options. So this is one that I did earlier. I'm going to choose to open it in Editor. And what you'll notice about this is, number one, the editor is in beta version, which means that they're still kind of testing things out. So if you go through and you have, you know, questions or you know, really any kind of guidance for them or suggestions, you can, you know, definitely let me know or email the Screencastify tech people, and then they, you know, will put in that survey. So one of the things you'll notice when you open up the editor, yes, it is in beta, like I said before, and it looks blurry. That does not mean that your video will look blurry to students, and it will not look blurry once you export it, because that had me a little concerned the first time I tried to use this. So I'm actually going to hop back over to a video that I had already created. Okay, now this video that I had created earlier has some some of those features that I showed you, like the ability to do that highlighting with the spotlight tool. And so I wanted to use this as an example. So when you're editing in the editor, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is wherever this white line is, this is your entire video down here, wherever the white line is and you click, you'll then see this very faint gray line. That's where your marker is for your editing tools. Now, I clicked here, but let's say that I wanted to remove everything from here, from the beginning to right here, okay? Once I click there, I can choose the scissors and it will cut that part, okay? So then if I wanted to delete that, I can simply click on it and I can choose the trash can and it will delete, or I can just choose delete from my keyboard and it's gone, okay? The important thing to remember is that if you are going to, this is called a break right here when we click on it. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to click over here. I want to get rid of this whole piece. Okay. So I click there, but I can't, I know this is where I want to stop, but first I have to break it here to get rid of that chunk. So I'm going to break here and now I'm going to break over here. So I click, choose the scissors, and now I have this one chunk in the middle that I can completely remove if I want to. So I will do that right now. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to choose delete. The other thing you might have noticed is that when I make that break, so let's say I want to break this here also, when I click on it and then I choose the scissors, when I hover over it, it gives me that shortcut, which is Command B. So if you wanted to use the shortcut, you can Command B for break, and instead of going and clicking on the scissors, and that will also break that piece and allow you to delete it. So I'm actually not going to delete that piece right now. I just want to show you as we move a little bit further into the video how we can crop certain things if we wanted to get fancy. So I'm coming over here to this part where I'm highlighting that little strip on the website. So I'm going to click here where that starts, and I'm going to Command B to break it. There we go, and we can see that split apart there. And then I'm going to come over here and Command B again, click Command B again, and now I have this little area here. So if I wanted to get a little fancy and zoom in on just this area and kind of get rid of all the rest, or if I just wanted to focus in my whole video and just have none of this backdrop in here. So maybe I want to remove most of that. I come over here, I choose the cropped, which is Command Shift and C if you wanted to use the keyboard shortcuts. And when I click on that, now it asks me to click and draw. I'm just pulling with my mouse or my trackpad. Now I want to just focus in that clip on this area here and get rid of the rest of my background. I can choose done. And now you can see that this clip here, because my students are in 3rd grade, stop here. I'm going to go back here. I want you to see the difference. Here, so there's this focus feature that I just turned on, and I'll explain that a little bit more later. That can kind of help highlight things, which may be helpful for your students. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to choose grade 3 because my students are in 3rd grade. So I know that that's sounding a little choppy. That doesn't mean that it recorded that way. It's just a bandwidth issue because we have a number of people on the Meet. And I just want to also point out before we move any further into this is that it's a great idea before you start to record something when you're ready to use Screencastify to reboot your computer, make so that this way you're starting fresh and only have the tabs open that are absolutely necessary. And that will help make sure that things go a little bit faster, because you will most likely 9 times out of 10 experience a little bit of a lag the more tabs that you have open, because your computer's working really hard and the internet is working really hard to try to bring in all of that information. So if you're doing something, if you're going to record, you either want to shut down your whole browser, or if you haven't restarted your MacBook in a while, do that first, and then that will help. So I don't know if you can notice here, I hover over this, and this is where I broke, and then this is where I cropped. So see that difference where I was just able to kind of take away that extra background? That it can be helpful in that way, just to kind of get rid of anything that's unnecessary. It's especially helpful for students that struggle with attention issues, or also students with special needs, to try to hone in on the most important parts of your screencast. The other thing that the other way you can use that is, now I'm taking this clip here and you can see that I clicked on it because again, there's that gray line, but also only this clip is selected because it has that blue border. And that's what you want to work with, you want to make sure of, so that right now I'm only going to crop this one part of the video. So just this one clip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the crop option, and it's asking me to draw a rectangle. I just want to focus my students in on this part here. So I'm just going to crop this and then say that I'm done. And now we go back to that same piece that we were just looking at. And I go from showing everything. So there's this focus feature that I just turned on, and I'll explain. And you can see how that just focused in on that one little area, took everything else away just for that one part. And then I can come back here because my students, and now it brings me back out to the rest of my, now that brings me back out to the rest of my clips. And only this one clip was affected with that. It was affected by that option. So before I go further, let me just pop back over and check in with you guys and see if you have any questions about that. Okay. All right, we're good. Rocking and rolling here. Okay, let's go. So now we're gonna go back to that same video, and I'm gonna pull my cursor over here again. Once I click, I see that blue line, and then anywhere there's a break, I'm looking for that gray line where I wanted to break, but also that this is what's selected here, this this one section of the clip. So I'm gonna break this again here. Okay, and you'll notice that once I broke that, where my gray cursor was clicked before, now this is just the area that I'm going to adjust. So now I want to show you how to use the text feature just on this clip. So there may be a need for me, maybe at the beginning or at the end, to want to write something to my students. So it could be a reminder. And I want to go over these features to show you why it looks like that. So reason it looks like that is because I had selected, let me start from left to right actually. So we have our bold option. We have an italicized option. We have our underline, okay? So very similar to what we have within Google Docs or Word or even our email. Then the next one is to change the color of the font. So I can change this to, let me do, go back to black here. And then this one is the shading around it. So I can actually change the shading. And this might be helpful because sometimes, you know, black over black text is difficult, but we might not want to have too many crazy colors to distract students. So, and I can always go back and change this. You can also, so maybe the yellow is a little bit too much. Maybe I just want to have a gray background, and let's see how that looks. Okay, so maybe that's a little bit better for students. Let me just expand this a little bit. And if you don't like, I mean, I don't necessarily like the way that looked with not having, I want a little bit more space on the beginning and the end. So I'm going to highlight this. I just put a space before and after, and then that just gives that shaded area a little bit more room. And that's just a personal preference for me. Okay, now that it's highlighted, okay, I highlight it again. I can change, there's only a couple of different fonts, but you can find the one that is your preference, and you can, you know, use different types of fonts as you move through your process. The other option is what size you want it to be. So this is small, this is normal, and this is huge. And you can do whatever, you know, you think is best for your students. But again, limited options, and that's another reason why we chose this. It's not, you know, it's the limit. Being limited in options sometimes is really nice, because then we don't get lost in, you know, too many crazy formats and things that will take extra time for you to complete a video. You know, these don't have to be super, you know, fancy, but I'm showing you these tools because it might be helpful to you to put one of these things, to add text to a certain piece of your video. And you may choose to not use it at all. This is over here, this is just giving you the options to, you know, center, left, right, justify. And then this one over here, this arrow that I have selected with the line up top just means that that text is going to go at the very, very top. If I choose this one, it's going in the middle. wherever that line is, and then the arrows point to it. And then this one here is down at the bottom. So again, limited to top, middle, and bottom. But again, that's just to try to make things easier. So it really can't kind of click and drag around. You just have to choose top, middle, or bottom. Okay, coming back in to check on you guys about the text. What do we think? Okay, questions? All right. Okay, so let's go back over here. And if I didn't like that at all, I can choose to delete it. And then that's gone. If I wanted to bring it back, I just choose undo, and then I can bring that back. So if you make a mistake, you can undo and redo, and you know, keep using things like the similar tools that we have in those other applications that we're used to using. So then, you know, if I'm going to bring that back again to where I was, we can review. Maybe what's happening for you, Mike. So, okay. So the other option that we have is you could add a clip if you had a clip that you saved in your drive from another video. So you wouldn't necessarily have to do everything in one shot. You could add from Google Drive. Go to your Screencastify. Okay, and I'll just take this one and select. And now it's adding in another piece of the video, that new video. Okay, so you don't have to be perfect in any of the videos that you're creating. You can always you know, take little pieces from different things and then bring them into a new recording. And then when you're done, you can download it as an MP4 or just save to Google Drive. And I'm going to give this a new video, a new title. And save it. Okay, so when you use these editing features, you're going to see that it takes a little bit longer to process, but that's just because we've added more features to it, such as the text and you know, and the new video clip. So it needs a little while to kind of bring everything together, and then you can share that out. So when I click on share, then it's giving me that that shareable link. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Let me make it a little bit bigger. If this was, the default is going to be that anyone with the link can either edit, comment, or view, and it's defaulted to Somerville Public School District. And that's why, you know, so that if you share it with your students can see it, your colleagues can see it, but with this setting, no one else can see it outside of the school district. If you were doing something that was more for your family, you could do public on the web, then that means that they don't need a Google Gmail account to sign in, but that also means that it's searchable. If you do on anyone with the link, then that means that only the people with the link can see it, and they don't need to sign in with a Google account. And then you just want to make sure that they have view access, and then you can save that. So if you wanted to share that out with someone outside of the school district, that is what you would do. Also, you know, for any of you that may be in grad school, or, you know, have a great video that you know, want to share with a colleague in another district, that's another great way for you to be able to change those settings so that they can, you know, so then they can have access to that too. So then I can view my video, and it's just going to open up a new tab with my newly published video. while that's loading, let's pop back over here. Oh, we're getting closer. Okay, so as this opens up, again, you can see now that the new title that I gave it after finishing editing it is there. I still have the same options to share to Google Classroom and share to all of my wonderful easy options. I still have the ability to trim on the front end and the back end as if this were a brand new video that I just created. But then I also have the ability, if I needed to open it in Editor again and tweak another little area that I may not have, you know, noticed. So it's not it's not like you can't go back in and edit something if you needed to. So I'm gonna pop back over and check in with you guys and see what questions you might have before we go into organization. Okay. So how about before we go into organization, is there, let me see, I got a little question right here that popped up. Let's see, check in for questions. I got it. My computer's a little chugging along here. My computer, come on. Okay, let's see here. While in desktop mode and presenting a Google slide on your screen, is there a way you can be in presenter mode and still see your webcam? So yes, in that case, what we would do is, and I'll address that first, then I'll go into a couple of other ones. So let me just pull up a Google slide. So I'm gonna just pull up our catalog from before, our new catalog. Okay. Okay, so the question is, while in desktop mode and presenting a Google slide on your screen, is there a way you can be in presenter mode and still see your webcam? So yes, what we would do is we would start the same exact way. We go up here to start our video. And so we click on the Screencastify app. Now let me close out some, so I'll close out some of those tabs in a second. So what we would do is we would make sure that we have the embed webcam enabled, and then I would just go in here and I would take off the webcam preview just because it showed that double window before. So you might want to do the opposite and say, like, you don't want the webcam on, but you kind of wanted to see, you know, the other things. You can do that, but let's take the webcam on and not have the preview, and we'll start recording. So as I'm going through, make sure, remember I have to click on the screen that I want to share and then choose share. So you'll see that it's going to start, we'll get that countdown going. We'll get ready to start recording. And so now we have this Google Slides that I've created for my students, and I want to walk them through it and be able for them to also see me talking to them. We can do that. If I decide that at a certain point it's not necessary for me to be on and I want to toggle myself off, I click on that to toggle myself off, and then I can always pop back in. So maybe you want to start with you greeting your students and showing this on your screencast, and then maybe as you're getting through the meat of the lesson, you want to toggle off and then maybe you want to do like a goodbye message for students towards the end. That would be a great way to use that toggle on and off feature.
Melissa, can I ask you a question about that real quick?
Yeah.
So that was my question, if you don't mind. So I noticed how you have all of the, like, your slides on the left. So what I meant by presenter view is like if you have it so that you don't see your slides on the left, is there a way to do it that way and then advance to the next slide? Because it seems like when I advance the next slide, then I lose the Screencastify options to turn it off. You know what I mean?
So you mean presenter view like this here?
Yes. So that it's my full screen and you don't see the upcoming slides.
Okay, so let's try this out because I haven't tried that yet. So let's see how this works here. So I would want to move my let's see if this works. Or we would just not the presenter view, we want this, right? So we wanted to kind of be able to click through and show students this without without seeing our slides on the left.
Right.
Right? Okay, so let's see if this works for us. So let's stop our video. I'm gonna pause so that I get the tools down here to stop. And let's see if that's worked.
Because I feel like I just saw your tools, but I feel like I lose my tools once I put it into presenter view. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong there.
So there are certain times that there are certain types of sites that don't allow the presenter tools to be visible because you're not able to like interact with certain things. You're not able to interact with certain sites and have the ability to use the drawing tools. So let me just skip forward and see if this actually worked here. Okay, so that did work. Maybe you and I can work on that. One of the things that I found out earlier this morning when I was helping another person was that you will lose the ability for your tools if you have your screen zoomed in. So I'm going to show you. So now you see my background and my desktop.
Right.
I have these three colors when I'm not zoomed in, and I can just hover over the corners and stretch out left and right, up and down to make my window bigger. But some people prefer to automatically be in zoom mode. And when you're in zoom mode, you don't have that yellow option. So let me zoom in. And this becomes problematic with the presenter in picture mode when you're zoomed in like that. So see how it disappears so that I can kind of see, I only see my tabs up at the top. And it kind of is a neater look for the individual, the user on the computer. But then that disappears until I bring my cursor up here and I lose that yellow option. I need to make sure that if I am recording and I want the picture-in-picture, I can't be zoomed in like that. So you want to double check for that when you do your next video, and then let me know if that did not solve the problem, and then I can help you with it separately, and then get back to the rest of the group about what it may have been.
Great, thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. So, do you think the webcam preview will be recorded? So yes, I was incorrect about that. The webcam preview and the webcam will be recorded on the screen. I figured it wouldn't be, but we know I know better than to assume. But I was recording a video yesterday, but I was only able to get the 3-day trial. Is there a way to extend it? Yes. So I'm going to resend the email with the code because if you didn't enable that, when you go to Screencastify, it's going to tell you that you have like a limited option, a limited window, and also just limits you to 5-minute videos. This code that I'll give you will give you the ability to have the unlimited access. And also make sure that you're logged into your Somerville account, because if you're not, you may not have, you won't be able to access this. When you change, and when you put in that coupon code, then you'll see that it says Screencastify Unlimited, and you'll have unlimited access to that. So I will send you the extended license. When you insert a video into Google Slides, the video was available to students. When I inserted as audio only, the student needed to request access. I had to share the Screencastify folder so that the audio was available. Is there another way to do this? I would imagine that that has something to do with the permissions on the audio file. So we would want to check those individual files to see if what the settings were, if they were able to have access to it or not. Because you can set up options to based on your folder structure. Some folders are just private to you, and other things need to be shared at that time that you record it. Let me just double check something here. Oh, I want to show you another thing before we move on. Here in my recordings, if you click on that, it will bring you again to all of the recordings that you've ever done. And you can rename directly from here, or you can rename from within your drive. So for that question about the audio and permissions, I can look into that with you if you want to stay on with me after we're done recording this, and maybe you can share your screen and I can take a look at that. So let's say, for example, this is, the untitled one that I just did. I can click on that and it will open it up, and it'll give me the ability again to change the title up here. And I would call this Slides Demo. Okay. And then once I click off of it, now that is the new title. I could also go into my drive itself and pull up Screencastify. Okay, and I can pull up one of my videos here and then also rename it. So while that's loading, let me close out some of these other tabs here, and hopefully that'll help a little bit with the speed. Remember, this is just the bandwidth. Unless you're trying to record a screencast of a Google Meet, which we're not doing, at this point, unless it's for PD, just to show people who weren't able to make it the first time. You'll have better bandwidth, but let's go here, and I'm just going to control and click over this new video. And that's control on your keyboard, and I go to rename. Now I can rename my video here. Okay, and then I click OK, and that is renamed. Now, to go over the question that was asked before about organization, what I like to do, and I'll kind of close all of these up to give you guys an idea of how I organize my drive. So when you first start, you have your drive over here, and the folders are closed. Okay, I click on the arrow to drop it down, and now I see my folders. So I'm going to close some of those. And let's say, for example, this here is, and the reason why I have the hashtags is because this I just made as a demo before. I'm going to delete that, but I needed a way for everything that's been going on to be up at the top of my drive. So I just put a hashtag there so that I didn't have to worry about things being alphabetical. And so that would be right up at the top. So that was a really helpful strategy for me to try to keep what I need really, really accessible. So let's say, for example, in this PowerPoint folder, I just wanted to take some of these. So in this example, you could think about if you wanted to drag over to your Google Classroom folder, or your favorite folder that you're using to just organize yourself all along, or a new folder that you're creating just for this purpose. If you wanted to take them out of the Screencastify folder, my favorite way to do it is to just click on the video and then slide it over with my mouse or trackpad, hover over that folder, and then let go. And you will get like a notification like we were talking about before, just based on the permissions, but you could always check those permissions later. So you click OK. And now that is in my PowerPoint folder. And the reason I created a PowerPoint folder earlier today was because I was demonstrating that if you have PowerPoints that are already created, it's best to share them. And we'll go over this in the Google Slides training that Tyler will do in a few days from now. But there's no need to reinvent the wheel and do a presentation over again. But the best thing to do is to share it with students through Google Slides. So I would click on this, and I would choose Open With, and I'm looking here for my Google Slides. Okay, so I click on that. And now it's opening as a Google Slides that I could share with students, but it's still saved in my drive as a PowerPoint. So if I was starting to move all of my existing PowerPoints over to Google Slides to make this online learning process easier for students, once that loads, and it will, we're going. There's not a whole lot on this in this slide, so it should be a little easier. But see how it still says here that it's a PowerPoint because it has that file extension there. Once it's finished loading, we can go and we can save it as a Google slide, and then we can either keep the original PowerPoint or just work off of the Google slide. I prefer to I prefer, and I have transitioned my former PowerPoints into Google Slides. So I click on File, I go down to Save as Google Slides, and we'll see that now I have the two open. And I'm going to go back to it's still loading. I got another comment. Okay, thank you. If you have to go, I know this is painful for wait for it to load. I understand. We're getting there, but thank you for anybody that has to hop off right now. Just remember again to practice with these things at your, and when you're capable and comfortable with using a tool. Just because these things are available does not mean that you have to use all of them. You have the ability to pick and choose what you need when you need it, and it's perfectly okay to use just the basic. This is the video, and share that out with students. Just remember that when you are doing a screencast, though, that you go slowly. You try to really make sure that you are focusing in students on exactly where they need to click, especially if it's kind of like a how to navigate a website, because that's going to be really helpful to them and try to clear up any confusion. And then once so now this is my actual, it's the same thing, it's my PowerPoint, but it's a Google slide. So now I can just make sure that I move it into that, that folder, and it's already in there, so I don't even need to move it. Because now you'll see when I refresh this page, here we go. We have that original title PowerPoint, and it has the PowerPoint icon. We have the video that I just moved over, and now we have the one that I created in a Google slide. So it would be my preference to take this and just remove it. So now I don't get confused between the two. And this would be the one that I choose to share out with my students. Okay, what other questions do we have about any of the tools that we've gone over today?
Does it make a difference which Screencastify video you open first when you're trying to edit them? So in other words, I was working and then I realized that none of the other stuff was being videoed. So then I made another one with that part. And I can't remember for the life of me how I did it, but I had the first part at the beginning, the second part came at the end, and I was able to, put them together. So is there a strategy that we need to keep in mind in terms of editing a beginning to the end? And
So that's a good question. I think I would start with, so if you know you have two videos where one is good in the beginning and one is like strong at the end, I would start editing the beginning one and then add in the ending one. Just because then that can kind of keep things linear for you so that you don't have to worry about dragging them to different points within the video. Now, that being said, if you recorded something that you realized was really strong at the end, but you needed to go back and re-record the beginning, then you could always start with the end recording and then add in the beginning recordings. So I can kind of go over here and pull up something to show you what that's like. Let me close these other tabs to try to help here. Okay, so I'm going to go and pull up a video that I already have. Okay, I have my desktop. And this is what I was saying before here. So like on this regular Google page, there isn't really any, the tools are unavailable. And if we click on Y, it tells us that there are certain browser tabs that you can't that you can't really use Google tools on. But then when you do get to a website that it works on, it will be available. So just to keep that in mind as we go. So let me pull up one of my videos again. Okay, here's my recordings. Okay, let's go edit this one again. So once it loads, I have to open it in Editor because otherwise I only have the scissors on the front and back end of the video. Okay, so we have our different clips here that we can kind of move around and things like that. The other thing I didn't mention earlier is you can click at the front end of any thing and then it gets grayed out. And then you can trim that way too. I prefer, no matter what, to kind of use the break tool because I feel like it gives me, I can be really sure that if I click there, I know that that's what I want to cut. So I'm going to click on it and break and delete that part. Okay. Now, let's say I click here, I break that, and now I want to add in a video. Let's say I want to add in a video to the front end. I'm going to pick something that looks different. So, Okay. So this was added in on the back end, but if I click and drag and bring it in the middle, I can move these pieces around. So to answer your question, it's really what you're most comfortable with. I would say if you know that you have two videos and one video is mostly strong, pull that one in first and choose that one to edit. And then this way you only have to bring in the small piece of the other one rather than doing it vice versa. If they're equally, easy to or equally, good, and you need to just pull in some other things, you can do that as well. Also, if you had downloaded another video or a video of someone else that had recorded something already, you could also, as long as it's in your drive, you can add that video too. So let's say Patty sent me a video of a music clip that I wanted to share with my students. I could always upload that or put it into my drive and then find it and then add it in here. So for example, I'm going to go in and add from Google Drive. And I know that within Screencastify, let me just go to my videos here. And so it's going to pull up, any of the videos that I have. I haven't tried this before, so let me see how this goes here. So I found a video that I had in my drive. Okay, so that they can do it, but it's not possible because there's a lot of traffic right now on the website. But you could always insert a video that somebody else had created. So you could do like an intro to tell students what to do, and then move into a video that somebody else created, and then finish up with your own video. Let me see, did I answer all the questions here?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, well, thank you guys all. You've been absolutely awesome. I hope you learned some things. Let me know if you have any additional questions as you play around with it. Remember that nothing is perfect. None of us are perfect. It's going to be, we're going to make mistakes, and there's always editing tools. So just be really kind to yourselves as you move forward with this process. And if you need a follow-up, please let me know.